It's basically, I've called it, How Can I Move On? So it's about moving on after separation. I'm barely separated for 4 months, and my partner of 10 years is already talking about our separation as we go through our divorce. This is hurtful, and I know this is not okay. I'm not so angry, and I am so angry and disappointed. I'm getting therapy, however, I do not seem to be able to reply on friends or family anymore because between therapy sessions. Talking to them seems only to provide... Can you guys hear me? There's terrible noise. I'm going to move. Just a sec. There's a heap of noise. There's a whole lot of noise going on. I've got you on the tripod, but that's just out of control. It's like drills, and I'm getting really sick of it. I'm getting to a point I'm going to have to write to the people at the back. It's really invasive. And during the week, not only do we have the drills going, we have the screaming workmen and the noise. Okay, how about that? I think that might be a bit better. We were just right near it. All right. So where was I up to? I'm so angry and disappointed. I'm getting therapy. However, I do not seem to be able to reply on friends or family anymore between therapy sessions. Talking to them seems only to provide temporary numbing of this pain and suffering. I feel I am going around in circles with them, and lately getting more and more irritated that they seem to think it has not been drilled into my head that I need to move on. Everyone has their own things to do. No time for me. And I feel too guilty for imposing on them, tying up their time. I've made the mistake of focusing on my partner for the past 10 years, and now I have no one but that I can rely on. And with an unempathic family and friends too busy with their own lives and families, I feel really alone. I want to go to gym, education classes, but that requires funds. I lost my job recently. I should go out, but I find large and unfamiliar crowds uncomfortable. Just going for a walk doesn't seem to help. And any time I spend not at least trying to look for a job compounds the feeling of guilt. My brain tells me I need to get over him and move on now. My heart is still wounded and has trouble letting go. It's hurting, so I really don't understand why it is so hard for my heart to let him go. Finding happy things to do is very hard, as everything happy used to be done together with him. I had an anxiety attack last night, and it wasn't pleasant, and I felt worse as I was alone. I rang the nurse helpline, but I got the nothing we can do and was referred to Beyond Blue and was never picked up. I resorted to taking the chance to fall asleep when the sleep wave came. However, unfortunately, I woke up with this elevated heartbeat, which I thought I had recovered from. But I guess not. I feel I am trying to use tissue paper as a band-aid whilst I work on moving forward. Would you be able to suggest sturdier ways to not feel this terrible and move on easier and quicker? Yes, I can. All right. I really feel for you, because what I think has happened is your partner has decided while he was still in the relationship that he didn't want to be with you anymore. But the trouble is he didn't tell you that he didn't want to be with you anymore. And so what has happened is you've been told when he's at that point when he actually wants to go, rather than I'm thinking I want to go, and then you knowing that he's thinking he wants to go, or he said these things to you and somehow or other you haven't picked up on it, and then he's finally done the I'm going, and you've been like, oh wow, I wasn't thinking that this is how it would be, and you've really been caught unawares. Now, when that happens, what happens is your husband's already been through the I'm going. He's already been through all that, and often that phase, men can find it very difficult to express how they feel. Well, in fact, any partner, even if you're in a same-sex relationship, any partner, when they're in that phase, can find it very difficult to communicate. It's a really brave person that actually steps in and says, you know what, I don't feel so good. So what's happened is he's been in that headspace. Then when he's finally sorted himself out, he's communicated with you and thought you should just get it. But unfortunately, you're sitting with all this turmoil and things are happening around you, which your conscious mind is fully aware of. You know the relationship is ending. But then there's your unconscious mind, which is like your inner child. And your inner child is saying, I don't know what's happening here. I'm really shocked, and what's going on? And if you've had things happen in your life to do with people either leaving you or abandoning you, you will find that those feelings are being ignited, as well as the terrible feelings that come along with losing a partner, particularly a partner that you've had for 10 years. So that's why you're feeling so stuck. So how does our unconscious mind try and manage itself? The way it tries and manages itself is it sort of replays the events. So this is why you're feeling so stuck. This is why you maybe wanting to talk about the same stuff, and why your family maybe listened at first and are now saying, well, come on, shake a leg and get on with it. And because they don't understand the whole process that's happening for you, their reaction is to try and push you into moving on. What I would say to you is you've got to give your unconscious mind time to actually process what's happened to you. Absolutely. And if you try and repress it, you'll be right for a while your willpower's able to repress how you're feeling. But then you'll find that as you sort of progress through life, if you have a weak moment, the feelings will come resurging again for you. So it's very important that you don't repress it. So what should you do? You've said to me you don't like crowds, and money's an issue. So there are lots and lots of resources, including mine, including what's happening right now where I'm doing this Facebook Live for you. So I've got lots more things planned, and I'm looking at how I can make therapy more accessible, because you're right, therapy is expensive, and if you're not earning any money, it can be very difficult to afford it. So I would suggest you do things like, it sounds like you're in Australia because it says Beyond Blue on your question. So I would suggest that you ring Beyond Blue during the day when they're not busy. You can ring Lifeline, which is, hang on, I've got the number here. Hang on a minute, in your answer. I've got the number, 131114. Or you can ring Wire, that are another favourite place of mine, which is the Women's Information Referral Exchange. You can ring them, and they will give you a referral to some support services in your area. I've moved from the drilling to children running up and down the street. Goodness me, I don't know if you can hear it or not. I'm just going to keep going. So basically, you can ring those services, and you can basically connect with somebody there, and they will give you a referral to a support group. Now, another place that, if you're worried about going to a support group like that, either through a neighbourhood house or through a government referral service, another way you can look for a support group is through Meetup. Now, Meetup has a whole range of groups, and there are groups on there for women who are processing their relationships. So you might need to search a little bit cryptically. Make sure you use lots of, in the search heading, use titles like abuse, breakups, dating, relationships, all those keywords. And because the groups are tagged with keywords, even if they're called something really obscure like women asking why, which is one that comes to mind, and I know there's another one that's run by a friend of mine called Women Starting Again. So they've got these names that don't necessarily indicate what they are, that they will come up when you do a search and you actually search for a group that's supportive for women in breakups. So that will give you face-to-face support. The beauty of Meetup is you can see how many people are going. So you said you don't like crowds. You can see how many people are going. You can see whether the group is active. You can see whether it's had previous meetups, and you can contact the convener very easily, and you can let them know you're coming, which will then pave your way into the group so that you don't feel as though you are, going into a big crowd of people you don't know. The reason I'm suggesting this is because you're going to connect with like-minded women who are in exactly the same space as you. I'm going to take my glasses off because they're too dark. That are in exactly the same space as you. So what happens is that you get there and you all share your story. And when you share your story, you hear other people talking about exactly the same thing as you. So when you come to tell your story, they're not sick of hearing about it because they're trying to understand the same sort of things you're trying to understand. And so you get a really empathic ear, and it is so helpful to you to be able to download how you're feeling. Because when you download how you're feeling, you start to empty out. You start to realize that how you're feeling, this feeling of wanting to talk about it over and over again until you understand because your unconscious mind is in shock, that's normal. And when someone else says to you, you know what, I feel like that too, that's incredibly normalizing for you. So I would 100% recommend that a group like that is the right thing for you. Now, you talk about, I got really upset and it was out of hours and I tried to ring the nurse's line and they put me on to Beyond Blue and there was no one there. That's really normal. There is something about evenings, we don't know what it is, even elderly people get it, where you get really upset in the evening and they don't really know why. They don't know why this happens. But if you're upset, there's something about, I don't know whether it's sleep hormones or what it is, but people get upset in the evening. So you have to plan for the fact that if you try to ring one of the helplines, whichever one you ring, and there's a whole lot of them, it will most likely be clogged and you won't be able to get through. So you need to plan how you are going to manage yourself in the evening. So if that means having a good self-help book to read, if it means what a lot of my clients find very useful is having somebody that can either do a meditation with them that they can listen to until they fall asleep, someone that's reading their book, somebody who is doing a motivational talk, listening to an ebook, listening to soothing music, whatever it is, you need to plan to have something to get you through those evenings when you are feeling really anxious, depressed, or just plain sad. So that's really important because you see, therapists can't be there 24/7 and a lot of them work through the week, they're exhausted, and then the helplines are often manned by students, and you might be the very first contact they've had with a client when you ring up because they're all doing their hours for their courses, because you do a course to become a counsellor, a psychologist, a psychotherapist, whatever it is, and then you have to get a certain amount of hours experience, and some of those hours are counted in the helplines. Now, I don't tell you that to discount because there are some very real quality people on the helplines, but unless you can help it, please don't rely on them. Because if you're the very first call that somebody's had that's just studying to become a counsellor, the quality of the work may not be there. So it's very important that you recognise that and use the helpline only if you really are at a point that you really cannot cope, and certainly out of hours, don't rely on it because honestly, the lines go non-stop. And I know when I first was studying to become a psychologist, I gave some time at Lifeline, and the training they gave us was very good, but you are taught, rather than like a counsellor that sees you face to face, you're taught this solution focused counselling. So you listen to the problem and you literally say, that must be really terrible for you, here's the solution, there's something for you to take away, thanks for that, bye, and then the phone rings again. So they're not necessarily even on the line with you for a very long period of time. So it's very important that you recognise all of that, and that you use the helpline only if it's absolutely necessary. So really planning to be self-sufficient in that time and managing yourself and knowing you're going to be upset. And it's amazing if you can get, and there are heaps and heaps of talks you can download. There's podcasts you can get for free that you can listen to. If you go into iTunes, there are so many podcasts. I'm thinking of starting a podcast next year. In fact, I'm about to do a course on it. You'll be able to listen to me. I'll be there. You know, so there will be things that you can listen to that will really absorb you and help you get into that space where you feel like you want to fall asleep, and you know, that's a good thing. educate yourself about what's going on. That's hugely important. So there's the cathartic effect of going and seeing a group of girls and sharing online, but also you need to be growing, because you want to get better and you want to heal from what's happened to you. And how you do that is by increasing your understanding of relationships and what went wrong. For two reasons. So your unconscious and your conscious can understand what happened. So you can grow in yourself and be a better person. And so you can understand that as you go out in the world, you might meet a new partner, that you can be really educated and you can pick out very quickly if this is going to be the right partner for you or not. So that's very important as well in terms of your healing and growth. Now, I would say to you, you don't rush getting better. In fact, I want you to try and find as many ways to work as possible. If going out is too much for you, look for online ways to work. Now, I'm looking at doing a whole lot of online things here that are going to be very affordable for people, and you'll be able to choose how you want to engage with me. So this is the first stage, which is coming into the group and asking me questions, and you get this sort of indirect way of working with me where we all share things as a group. The next stage is I'm looking at starting a second group which will have much, much deeper involvement. You'll be able to come online. You'll be able to have what we call a Zoom session where a small group of you come in and you're able to share your stories. I do a little lecture, things like that, and it's all done online. And because it's all done online and it's done in a group and I'm nominating the time when it'll happen and all these things, it means that I can keep the price down. So, you know, it's just the way that different ways I can work and different compliance issues and stuff I won't bore you with, but it means that if I'm working online, I can keep the price down and you can get some more of what you need as well, particularly if I'm working with large numbers. Now, there will be other people doing this stuff as well, not just me. So I want you to think about what's possible for you right now. And as you get stronger, you will feel like you can look at Meetup and you will feel like you can join a small group. Or you could go to your local neighbourhood house and you could look to see if there's a group meeting at your local neighbourhood house. And then as you grow stronger, I want you to really look at doing as much personal development and discussion groups as you can, because your unconscious wants to process, and it wants to process over and over and over and over again. And eventually you'll get to a point, and I have clients say to me, Elizabeth, I'm counselled out. And when they say that to me, I actually know they're getting better, because it tells me they don't need me anymore. They don't need their groups anymore. They've moved on. So I want you to start to think about what are some other things you could do for you. You talked about being in your relationship for 10 years and that you focused completely on your partner. There's a conspiracy. That was a truck just went past our quiet street. Screaming children, drills, workmen. It's all happening. Anyway, so I want you to really think about, who am I? What do I want? And part of your personal development of going and joining these groups and going online, you will meet people. And as you meet people, you'll start to get a support group around you. I want you to think about what you're interested in. Do you like gardening like I do? Do you like, I don't know, do you like gardening? Do you like cars? Do you like photography? Do you like drawing? Do you like life drawing? Do you like painting? Do you like scrapbooking? What do you like doing? And join a club. Join a club and you'll meet people. Now, as you meet people, you start to expand your network, and you're talking about trying to find a job. Now, what I want you to do is I do want you to apply for jobs online. That's important. But I want you to not focus on any of the jobs you're applying for. I want you to just do it like a sausage machine. Every week, I want you to set aside time, look at Seek or wherever, put your applications in, and then don't focus on waiting for the phone to ring. And then next week have some more, put more and more and more and more of these in, so that you are in a space where you've always got something happening. You've always got a job application going in and you never know when the phone's going to ring. And I've always found that that's been a very useful way for me to do job search. The other thing I want you to do is think about the fact that our economy is not in the greatest space at the moment. So looking outside of yourself for a job might not be the most effective thing to do, Because I don't know, I mean, look, I'm working for myself, so I don't look at Seek or anything, and I don't know what sort of jobs you're looking for, but it might not be that there's very many jobs out there. So what I want you to do is look at how other ways, things like you might be able to sell things online. I know there's girls that go and raid op shops and look for clothes with designer labels, wash them up, iron them up, mend them, make them look gorgeous, and sell them online. There are all sorts of things you could be doing. So have a think about that as well, so that as you're getting better, you'll have something that you can work on that will make you feel a little bit stronger. So that's my advice to you, is go slow, start online, look at Meetup, look at where you could find some small groups to meet in person, and basically prepare yourself that when it's out of hours is when you are going to feel most upset. And make sure that you've got ways of coping that don't involve making a phone call to a helpline that's going to be absolutely clogged, because it's really normal to feel like that. That's how people feel. Often they're very upset in the evening. So there's lots and lots of people feeling like that, and there's only so many lines. And the helplines, you know, don't rely that you're going to get the help you need when you do finally get through, because there is a variety of quality of counselling and quality of experience on those helplines. The government sort of pays for the lines and a little bit of experience, but there's not people sitting there that have had 10 years experience counselling. There's just not. So being really aware of that too, that you really ring the helpline. You know, there are some quality people there. I don't want to take away from them, but you ring the helpline when you really have nowhere else to go, you know. Please don't rely on it, because there really isn't a lot of help out of hours, because all the good counsellors, they're having a rest from having done their work through the day. So that's my advice for you. I hope that's helpful. I have written, of course, a full answer for you here that actually goes a couple of pages. I had to staple it. And that will go up on the blog. Now that one will go up sort of mid-March,